am so excited to be watching The Untamed because, oh man, last set of episodes, hey, it's Romania Black, but last set of episodes was really, really good. Really, really good. But we're starting to get into the Yiling Patriarch, essentially the slow transition to getting there. We're getting into the whole golden core thing. I'm so excited. But when we last left off, clearly not when Ching is posing as Baoshan Sangren to give Chang Wushin's golden core in place of his own to restore it. So yeah, there's that going on. The Sunshot campaign is getting brought up. Everything's all... It's been so long since I've watched the first season of the donghua, and I've done that intentionally because there's been many times I wanted to go back and watch season 1 and season 2, but I was like, I'm going to watch The Untamed eventually, and I wanted it to be refreshing to get back into it in this series. And it has been. Last episode I was like, we're doing this now, and it was really, really good. So I've intentionally held off because I wanted to be re-surprised by what we're going to touch base on in this series and to see what they end up changing, because there's already been like little tiny changes here and there, especially with how the whole golden core thing went down. And I've not got to that part in the novel yet, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly which the novel is closer to, if it's closer to the donghua, if it's closer to the Untamed, if it's a little bit of both. That's going to be interesting too. But we're watching episodes 19 and 20 today. We're almost to the halfway point, which is crazy. Crazy talk, y'all, that we're almost halfway through the Untamed. So, but I'm really, really excited. I don't know what to expect. That's kind of the fun thing about this. I know we've mentioned the Sunshot campaign and they found Baoshan Sangren here, but I don't know exactly how we're going to go to from here. Like if we're going to immediately cut to Chow and them finding Wushin and taking him to the burial mounds, or what we're doing. But we're getting close to the Yiling Patriarch. Again, I don't know how with the censorship in the show they're going to handle that, but we got previews of it last episode, and I like that they're gradually giving us Wushin evolving into the Yiling Patriarch. There's little tastes of it. And the saddest part is that Wushin, in all of his anger and frustration and sadness, Wanji's not there. So it's so sad. I forget that Wanji's not there through all these parts, which at the time when I was first watching the donghua, I was like, okay, Wanji's not there. They don't really get along anyway. And then when you rewatch after you've seen the donghua in full, you're like, oh, he wasn't there. It's like, it's just like a gut punch. But you know what? Let's do this, shall we? I'm pretty excited to dive into these 2 episodes with y'all and see what happens. So, in any case, we are going to start The Untamed episode 19 and 20 here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Okay! Oh my god! So, I didn't know if we were getting the Yiling Patriarch yet or not, but we did! God, that was... honestly, those episodes in season 1 were so good, that I was like, okay, yeah. I loved those episodes in donghua, and seeing them again in this was just so... It was well done. Obviously, they can't have ghosts running around everywhere, and so the idea of him just like manipulating and psychologically torturing them basically to death is crazy talk, right? Oh my god. And then the black smoke and him in the darkness with the lights over his eyes. I was like, I'm here for this. I'm all here for this, y'all. Oh my god. So the donghua follows the donghua pretty well. The idea that 7 days passed. The only thing that changed really was that instead of in the burial grounds Wushin getting taken away, there's a bit of time lapse there. So it makes sense in the Untamed that there's been a week go by and the golden core exchange has happened. Wushin clearly shows that it's funny, if I didn't know that the core had been exchanged, I probably would have thought something was up, like in the donghua, but the donghua moves so fast that you can't really tell. In this, you can kind of tell something's up. But yeah, Chang waking up. And Chang, the acting was so good in these episodes. I've said that since the beginning, but the acting, Chow, I think because Chow knew these were like his last 2 episodes, he was like, I gotta go out with a bang. Chow and Chang and Wushin and Ching and Wanji, oh my god, like they were all so good. I was like, just so good. But yeah, the idea of Wushin, that he could become a ghost and torturing them Yeah, and then taking them to the burial grounds. The burial grounds were freaky in this version. I was super impressed. I was actually impressed. It was a very minimalist approach, and it worked. It worked quite well. So yeah, the idea that Ching's been captured and was in prison with Ning. They've taken Ning away. I was like, of course they've taken Ning away by the end of it. They're like, he's going to die, and they're going to build that up for Wushin to find him. Of course they are. Of course they are. The voice of Wanji's voice, like, it's weird because there was in the creepy visuals and all the voices, like Wanji's voice echoing through the burial grounds and like all the voices of like all the people Wushin's interacted with. The burial grounds, it was a really cool visual. The sound effects is really what made it the creepiest. But the visuals, something about the lighting and everything, it reminded me of the series Twin Peaks. If you've ever watched Twin Peaks, I love Twin Peaks. But Twin Peaks is very surreal and has some like surreal imagery at times. And I feel like this series did the exact same thing, where it had moments where the lighting and stuff just made it seem like otherworldly, and it was so creepy. And that last shot of Zahn at the end, like as he's getting drugged down, I think I like the burial grounds more in this version than I do even the donghua. Like, it makes sense, the smoke and everything enveloping him. It's so creepy. And then 3 months go by, and then 3 months pass, and I questioned at first whether Wanji knew about Wushin and what happened to him, because he seems at first like as he's coming up the stairs and questioning, but they don't know, and then he finds out. But yeah, Zhao. As soon as this episode got going, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen to her. But I didn't expect her to kill herself or for it to be like this and be so creepy. Oh my gosh. But yeah, the Sunshot campaign, Wushin's sword getting confiscated. I thought whenever they found out about Wushin, whenever Wushin's sword got confiscated and given back, I kept thinking that maybe Chang was going to grab it, and they do a great foreshadowing in this with the sword. They have Wanji try to open the sword and it doesn't work, suggesting that Wushin's dead or that he sealed the sword and nobody can open it except him. And it's a nice foreshadowing because Wanji's like, well, and I'm sure Chang doesn't even try because he has his own sword and he doesn't need to try because he saw Wanji try to do it. But the idea that later on, when he is able to open the sword, I'm hoping they show us that, but when we see it later on, because he has Wushin's golden core, the sword opens up for him. That's going to be such a cool reveal, and I feel like they're going to go back to that moment and touch base on it. It's going to be great. But yeah, the Wenju, his head hanging, and I like that they tie back to Yanli being like, no, I don't want to see that, and it's like, Zishuan showing his kindness in this episode. I'm really glad they gave us that little moment with Zishuan and Yanli. Bless his heart, our little tsundere. He's definitely more tsundere in the donghua, and here he's just kind of socially awkward and kind, though, because he was like, let's clean up the corpses, let's not disrespect anybody, my lady's here, I gotta act on my best behavior, and then he's like so kind to her, and it's like, aw. So it kind of shows, I like they're showing that their relationship blossoming slowly but surely, you know? But then, yeah, and another foreshadowing, Mingzhu, the saber shaking and everything. I'm like, oh, that's such great foreshadowing. I love it. It's wonderful. It's all coming together. I was like, this episode, I was like, it's all coming together, and I love it. The meeting in the Unclean Realm where they decide they're going to go, and the Sunshot campaign is going to kick off. The really cool setup with Yao, because Mingzhu asks where Yao has been. Did he make it back to the Jin clan? And Zishuan's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, my dad surely wouldn't turn him away, and it's like, yes, your dad would. So that it's just great foreshadowing of Mingzhu being like, of things yet to come afterwards that we're gonna get privy to. Great. The damn eyes in the box, though, when Zhao opens up the chest and those eyes were there, I wasn't expecting it. I'm actually, believe it or not, easily scared. Or maybe you should probably have guessed that by now. I'm easily scared. Like, horror movies are not my jam, usually. I like thrillers and I like mysteries, but straight up horror movies where they're trying to scare you, I'm easily scared. So that eyes in the box thing, I was like, nope, not having it. And then, of course, before we get Zhao's big, before episode 20 and the giant Yiling Patriarch reveal, man, the reveal. I do like that we touched base on Chang and Yanli and the fact that both of them, because when Chang first finds out that Wushin was thrown into the burial mounds, he doesn't quite have a big reaction to it like I thought he would, like a brother would. But then later on with Yanli, he does have the reaction, like it sinks in, and Yanli's grief, it kind of all washes out, and you're like, okay, that makes much more sense. It's handled a lot better in that moment, which I liked. But yeah, episode 20. Oh, I loved episode 20. It was wonderful, and then it was heartbreaking. But the idea of the flute, I'm going to take so many screenshots and put them all over everywhere because they're so damn good. But yeah, the idea of Zhao, at first I thought the flute, because I was trying to think for censorship reasons, I'm like, okay, for censorship reasons, how are we getting around this? Because in the donghua, I've not read this part in the novel. Don't spoil me. I've not gotten to this part in the novel. But in the donghua, she literally gets killed by the guards and then comes back as a corpse and kills Chow. And so I was like, okay, how are we doing this? And also Wuxian uses his powers to kill the golden core in the donghua, and here Chang kills him, and I was like, okay, all right, and we're going to talk about that. But for a second, I thought maybe the flute possessed her, and she wasn't dead, but then Chow stabs her, but then it wasn't really even her. It was just Chow, like, having a psychological meltdown and getting possessed by the music themselves. No, and then she hangs herself, and, like, the moment where she, like, cuts her own face, I was like, oh! And that part earlier on where she took the brand and, like, cut it down Wuxian's, like, scar, I was like, just... Even though I really dislike Zhao Zhao in this and in the donghua, her death is still like, it's so freaky. And you can't help but be like, girl, I'd be in the same boat. But yeah, she hung herself, and then Chow was driven mad. And man, they really build up that reveal of Chow, what he looks like later on, don't they? But yeah, so you had Chang like whipping... Like Chang, like, what have I got here? Unhappy with Zhao. Or yeah, Chang whipping. I was like, what do my notes even say? I was like, Chang, I was like trying to write and watch at the same time. I didn't want to miss anything. But yeah, Chang, when they find her body, like whipping her off onto the ground. I was like, okay, all right. And then Wanji finding the flags, being suspicious. Wanji, this whole episode 20, like, it was really heartbreaking because Wanji knows something's up and he's very concerned about it. And when he finds out it's Wuxian, he's doubly concerned about it because he's like, oh no, what's gone wrong? But yeah, Chang's offer, and then taking Chang's offer to Ching. God, I'm glad he gave her the hair comb, and she clearly took it with her. But for a second it sounded like Chang was offering to like take her in and like marry her, maybe like being like, you could leave the Wing clan and join the Zhang clan, and it's like, well, that's really sweet that Chang's offering her that, and she's like, I should be swept off my feet by such a prince. But Ching brings up a really good point. She's like, I can't abandon my brother and my family. And the point she makes here is one that comes up later in the donghua, where she's like, you could take me in, but you couldn't take my family in because you're a clan leader. That's not going to work out. And it's going to call back, I'm sure, whenever Wuxian's trying to protect her and them. And Chang's going to get mad because Wuxian's going to be able to do what Chang can't. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, Chang wanted to protect Ching and take her back with him, but she wouldn't go because he couldn't take her family. Wuxian's going to be able to try to protect her and the family and do what Chang can't. And Chang's going to get mad about it. I hadn't even thought of that. Oh my God, y'all. But yeah, Chow going mad. And then Wuxian, before we even get to that, I love the way they tie in, because in the donghua, it's a little rushed, like the whole thing with the flags and the talismans, and Wanji's like, something's not right. This isn't natural. This isn't good. And the donghua, just like in this, Chang's like, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so we need all the resources we can to fight the winds. This is fine. It's like the meme with the dog with the cup and everything's on fire, and Chang's like, this is fine. And Wanji's like, it is not. But yeah, I just like that Wanji, you can tell from the onset that Wanji is disturbed by this, and even when he finds out it's Wuxian, he's still very disturbed. But yeah, the idea of them watching and waiting, and Chow going mad, oh my God, and scratching himself, and like just... And poor Zulu. I felt bad for Zulu in the end there, because he's like, I don't get paid enough for this. And you're just trying to apply medicine to him with the tiny little shovel. And then I thought like his eye was going to pop out or something gross was going to happen. And I was like, please, show, don't do this. The eyes that were popped out in the chest made me think about it. And I was like, I don't want to see that. But God, Chow's head and hands. And then them just Wanji and Chang watching in horror the whole time. It was insane. And then the Yiling Patriarch, man, they built up that entrance and it was so good. It was so good. But yeah, just the fight and Chang hanging Zulu. I like that part because Chang is taking some ownership, and so it makes sense later on that Chang like welcomes Wushin back in. Enemy of my enemy is my friend, and is like, yeah, we're gonna fight the winds together. And so right now, for Chang's agenda, he's all for Wushin's change and what's happened to him. But Wanji is like, you're not the same person, and it's not good, right? And Wushin and Wushin does act different. Like Zahn plays him very different. Like just, it's so subtle, but you can tell he's different. Like the resentful energy and everything. He's the Yiling Patriarch. He's not Wushin anymore. And that moment where he's like, should I call you just Hung Wanjun? I was like, no, don't do that. Like it's sad enough in the donghua. In this version, I think it's sadder because there's so many moments between Wanji and Wanji's like, you can tell in Wanji's head, the way Yibo acts him, you can tell that Wanji's trying to rationalize through it. He's like, okay, how do I convince him to come back? How do I do this? What do I do now? How do I make this work? And it's like, it's just, God, it's so sad. So sad. But yeah, oh my God. And then, yeah, Wushin is different. He's different. And Wanji's like, you don't understand. If you keep going down this path and using this resentful energy, it's going to make you different. It's going to keep changing you. And you're eventually going to get taken over by it. And of course he is, because Wushin doesn't have his golden core anymore. So yeah, sure. But when Wushin denied the burial grounds and all that, I was like, but you were there. And I'm sure Wanji's like catching on that you're lying. But Chang's like so focused on beating the winds and keeping Yanli safe that he kind of overlooks it. And then Chao's forgive me. And when Chao's forgive me is like when he says it and like the subtitles overlay over Wushin, it's almost like Wushin is saying that to Wanji, like, forgive me for what I'm doing, for taking this revenge. It's like, because the thing of it is, even though Wanji had his uncle threatened, his brother injured, and his entire, home burnt down, he didn't seek vengeance like Wushin's doing. He didn't seek vengeance the same way. And it's like, dang it. But yeah, the final bow to Yu and Fengmian, and then them reuniting with Yanli and them. These episodes were so good. They were so good. Oh my God. The smoke effect, the lighting, Zahn's acting, I'm so glad. I would say I really love the series, but from episode 15 on, it has been so good. Because the acting has just stepped up a notch. The last 17 and 18 in these two episodes, Zahn killing it. And just, oh my God. So yeah. I'm curious now, because obviously they have to find Ning. They gotta find baby Ning. It's gonna be sad. And then there's gonna be all this turmoil with Qing. They set that up with her and Chang. There's gonna be all this stuff going on with the Sunshot campaign. And I'm really curious to see what all they show us at this point, what all is left to be found. What all is left to be in this flashback. Because we still have Yanli's death. And it's weird because in the donghua in season 2, it kind of goes back and forth. We see Yanli's death later. And I don't know if the Untamed is going to do that. We're not halfway through the season. And we still have Yanli's death. We have Qing. We have Ning. We have the Yiling Patriarch and Chang's confrontation with each other. We've got Yi City, we've got Yao, we've got all this stuff. Oh my God, there's so much ground to cover. So much ground to cover. Oh, I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, we're going to be near the halfway point soon. What else do we have left? A lot. Quite a lot. And then Zishuan's death. We got so many deaths left to go through. But yeah, this being the introduction of the Yiling Patriarch was so well done. It really was. I absolutely loved this. It was so good. I had been waiting for it, and y'all said it didn't disappoint. Did not disappoint at all. The thing with Chao and Zulu was amazing. I was so hyped up in this episode. I was fangirling. I was having so much fun with this. And like I said, since episode 15, the series is it's not missed. So I'm really excited, y'all. I'm curious to know what you all thought of these episodes. I'm sure we're going to gush about the Yiling Patriarch below, right? But it's sad. It is sad to see, as badass as the Yiling Patriarch is, as beautiful as that flute is, there's something so sad about the Yiling Patriarch, and it's not Wuxian. It's not fully Wuxian, right? I feel like when we get back in the story and he's in Mo Jianyu's body, even though it's not his body, it's his spirit, right? And just setting all this up with Wanji and his emotional conflict and everything, it's just well done. I really liked it. So I loved these episodes. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching this reaction. But as we talk down below, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. And yeah, I will be back soon with episode 21 and 22 of The Untamed. Bye.